When we say muscle, first man that comes to your head is always Arnold Schwarzenegger. Only look at bulk. Why muscle more than anything else?
Muscle is the only age-reversible organ in the body.
But there are ways where you can preserve muscle and lose fat.
We will be able to prevent, even reverse, lifestyle diseases such as diabetes. And
Years ago, my idea of recovery was only to sit on the couch.
that will just help accelerate recovery really fast. But if you do it right after your training, then it is counterproductive.
What happens to somebody who does not have access to a gym?
By these things, you will be able to get a full body workout whenever you want. Of course, I do feel sore because I'm training hard. Be able to manage my soreness.
You've really dressed for the subject today, huh? Popping those veins and showing those muscles.
Yeah, I thought let me not wear oversize for this topic.
But I'm really excited for our subject today because I think it's not something that just people who are venturing into fitness need to know, but also seasoned athletes can benefit a lot from this information on building muscle. My favorite topic as well. I mean, I want to become muscle ki dukaan also at some point.
Muscle
I think
ki
I'm
dukaan.
getting there. Yeah. But we're going to really dive deep into how to build muscle.
Yeah.
Muscle building 101, whatever we want to call it, right?
Yes.
And I think no better person than you, Rishabh.
Thank you.
Yeah. But before we start, let's just for the benefit of our listeners and viewers, just in very simple layman's term, why muscle is so important. Because most of us, even now, only look at bulk, right? When we say muscle, we're like, oh, a bodybuilder.
Yes.
Or the first man that comes to your head is always Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? And that's the only view. And then you're like, no, I don't want to become like that, right?
Yeah.
Men or women. So let's just talk about why muscle more than anything else.
Yeah, I think first of all, it's like near impossible to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Exactly.
It just requires very sports-specific training, nutrition, recovery protocols, and a bunch of things.
Yeah.
And it is not like you will hit the gym and suddenly wake up one day with a lot of bulk. But I've been trying to bulk for a long time, but it's not been easy. Anyway, muscle is what holds the physical architecture of the body. Muscle is what make the movement happen. So it's not just about, vanity. It's not just about the looks. Muscle is functional. And as we say, right, that muscle is the only age reversible organ in the body. So there's a lot that muscle does. Muscle is also the sink for glucose. So if we are prioritizing muscle, and especially as we age, we will be able to prevent or even reverse lifestyle diseases such as diabetes and high LDL and things like that. So muscle, of course, happens to be super important. And it is not only for athletes. Yes, for athletes, it is very important. It's a non-negotiable. For bodybuilders, their entire sport is around how much muscle can they put on. But it is not only for them. So just think about it. If you want to be 80 years old and be bouncing your grandkids like a basketball,
Exactly.
muscle is the only thing that's going to make it happen.
100%.
And we all want to get there, right? So my message to pretty much everybody is to make muscle their number one health priority. And everything else will basically fall in place if you're just prioritizing muscle.
We're always prioritizing fat drop, right? And we go to any length
Correct.
to lose fat. I'm not saying that's bad. It's great. But most people don't understand that the simultaneous process of losing fat, also you lose muscle. But there are ways where you can preserve muscle and lose fat.
Exactly.
Which is for another day,
Yes.
another topic, another subject. But I love what you said in the end about how prioritize muscle for good health.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's in fact easy to drop fat, by the way. It is hard to build muscle, especially for people who've been training for a while.
So
for
true.
someone who's new to lifting weights, of course, it's a great place to be because you will see a lot of gains very
Results,
fast. But otherwise, it's just super easy to lose fat. And we'll probably talk about it at some point, that what are the protocols. As long as you know what are the protocols, you don't really have to make a lot of sacrifices and you'll still be able to lose fat.
Correct. Now, okay, let's say I'm a beginner, right? And I actually now want to start focusing on muscle. I mean, I've done some basic workout here, there, all of that. But how do I plan? Like, how do I say, where do I start? What's my basic or foundational, like the load and how many repetitions?
Yeah.
There's so much information out there. But if I can't afford a coach and stuff like that, I'd love to know more, right? So I'm sure our viewers and listeners, if there are a lot of people who just want to kickstart, what would your advice be on that?
I think the first thing that people need to understand are the foundation, the variables that they can play around with. So I'm just going to take a few minutes to explain what those variables are,
Sure.
and then we'll get into the details of periodization and things like that.
Yeah.
And these are the terms that you will hear a lot when you are at a gym. So the first thing is load. I'm sure you've heard it. Load is basically how much weight you are lifting. So if
Load.
you're doing a bicep curl with a 10 kg dumbbell, the load is 10 kg
Correct.
in that case. Then is your repetitions or reps. It's basically how many times are you moving that weight
Yeah.
up and down. So again, an example of bicep curl, this is one repetition, and you do it again, that's the second repetition.
Yeah.
I know these things are very simple, but I'm just explaining it for the benefit of everybody, because when you get to the gym, a lot of things are anyway intimidating and overwhelming. So
Yeah.
you should at least understand what you're signing up
Absolutely.
for. Then is the sets basically, or we also call it rounds. Sometimes it basically means a group of unbroken repetitions that you can do without having to stop and getting it somewhere close to failure. So a group of basically how many reps can you do is one set.
Yeah.
And we typically play around with the number of sets when we plan a workout.
Yeah.
Then is the rest. Rest is how many seconds do you rest between two sets. And that's another very important variable, because how much do you rest will define how much can you push your muscle every single set.
Exactly.
And that defines basically what is the goal that you are training for. Now something very important, it's the RPE or RIR. RPE basically means ratings of perceived exertion.
Yeah.
And RIR means reps in reserve. So RIR is basically the reverse of RPE. We look at RPE on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being that you can't do even a single rep. So if you say that you are at a 10 RPE and I point a gun to your head and say do one more rep, you still won't be able to do it. That is 10 RPE, and which basically means 0 reps in reserve.
Correct.
So that's the inverse relationship. What I'll try to do is I'll draw a chart which explains what RPE means in relationship to RIR. You don't have to use both parameters. You can either use an RPE or an RIR. If you are at an 8 RPE, which means that 8 on 10 kind of an effort, means you could have gone another 2 or maybe 3 reps. So you are 2 or 3 reps in reserve, and that's a pretty good intensity and effort level to be at. So this is very important, because people sometimes are not able to go to an RPE which is required for them to build muscle. Now even before you get to that, you need to understand that there's something called an RPE. And then these are the variables, very simple variables that you can play around with in your programming to make sure that you are moving towards any specific adaptation. All of this comes together to create one solid workout. Now, in terms of how do you use this? How do you deploy in your workout? Here are very simple guidelines. Number one, you have to train each muscle at least twice per week. So if you're training your bicep, for example, you need to make sure that you're training it at least twice per week. You can also train it 3 times, but I think twice is good enough for most people. That's quite a bit of fatigue already. But if you're someone who recovers really fast, who takes a lot of effort on recovery, training age is super high, you can also go for training 3 times in a week, and that actually means a lot of volume. 12 to 15 working sets per muscle per week is what you need to build muscle. So if you're doing 2 less, then you will not be able to stimulate muscle to grow. And if you're doing too much, then basically the benefits that you get are not too much after this particular number. So 12 to 15 working sets per muscle per groups, and these are in both the sessions put together. So if I'm again bicep on a Monday and bicep on a Thursday, both put together should be about 12 to 15 working sets. Stay within 2 to 3 reps in reserve on compound movements. Compound movements are basically movements that are working multiple muscles together, like a squat or a deadlift.
Bench,
These are
yeah.
bigger movements. They put a lot of load on your CNS, your central nervous system.
Correct.
So, and if you go until full fatigue, you may end up compromising also on the form. So it's advisable to stay at like a 7 or an 8 RPE. So stay within that range on your compound lifts. If you're doing an accessory movement like strength row or a bicep curl or a tricep extension, feel free to go until failure.
Yeah.
Now, as long as you understand these things, and if you're able to deploy it in your training, you will be able to build a decent amount of muscle over a period of time. Of course, you need a lot of consistency. However, this is just like, an overarching principle. There are finer details that can help you just accelerate this journey and also make it more sustainable. Like, you want to do this for the rest of your life, and you want to make sure that you keep growing in terms of your muscle mass and strength. So there are some finer details that you can always deploy.
Now, if I want to break it over like 4 to 6 weeks,
Yeah.
right? How would you approach it?
If you want to break it over 4 to 6 weeks, so basically what you're trying to say is a mesocycle, and mesocycle sounds like a complicated term, but it's basically a block of training where you are chasing one specific adaptation. Now, it could be endurance, it could be power, it could be strength. In this case, what we are discussing today is muscle gain or hypertrophy, as we call it. So we'll talk about that one specific adaptation. So the overarching principle that I spoke about, you deploy it in that mesocycle. And when you are in week 1 of that cycle, which means you're starting that cycle today, you should ideally you stay at the lower end of the effort. So keep like 3 reps in reserve. You should stop the set when there are 3 or more reps that you could have gone. So I don't want you to go to full muscular failure. Like I said, right? If I point a gun and I ask you to do another rep, you can't do it. I don't want you to go there. I want you to stop at like 3. I could have gone 3 or 4 other reps, but you stop there. And stay at the lower end of the volume. The simplest way to understand volume is the number of hard sets that you're doing in a workout. And staying within like 3 reps in reserves or 2 reps in reserve is already pretty hard set. So stay at the lower end of the volume in your week 1. Do that for whatever 4 or 5 training sessions that you are doing, and then when you come back to week 2, so basically week 1, as I call it, is the learning phase. You've introduced some new movements. You've stayed at a moderate level of effort, a moderate level of volume, a moderate level of intensity, and then comes the accumulation phase. So in the accumulation phase, you're basically trying to accumulate more volume, and you're trying to accumulate some fatigue in the body. You need to challenge yourself, your muscles and your bones to just grow strong. So within week 2, what I'd like you to do is increase the load or the reps slightly. You don't have to like go crazy about it. As long as you're within that 5 to 10% range, it's fine. So increase the load and or reps. You can just increase one of them. What we want is incrementally higher amount of challenge deployed, placed on your muscles. You can still stay within that 3 reps in reserve, or you can sort of decrease it. So which means that you go to 2 reps in reserve. So the workout compared to week 1 becomes a little more challenging, but you still do the same workout program that you followed with some amount of progressive overload. Progressive overload, like I said, means increase the load or the reps, or you can also slow the speed of the movement. And there are other techniques that we deploy, but for most people, all of that may not be needed, because most people will be in the in beginner to intermediate kind of a training profile or training age. So you stay within the same reps in reserve, increase the load, increase the reps, and train that way for the next couple of weeks. So week 1, week 2, week 3, you're accumulating more volume, and then will mostly come a point where you are not able to increase your load or reps. When that happens, it means that you've reached your max recoverable volume. And if you still keep hammering yourself at that point, you'll only go downhill, because the recovery is not happening, but you're trying to still, train close to failure, which is not good for your central nervous system, because a lot of CNS fatigue will happen. Your sleep will go off. You will not really be able to see gains. You will not really be able to stick to it. And that is when I suggest you take a deload.
So
When I typically program for people, I keep a cycle of 4 weeks, progressively overloading from week 1 to 3,
3.
and week 4 take a deload, and then come back to week 1.
So when you say deload, how would that work for me in terms of reps? I understand that the load will be a lot lesser. Like if I've hit a 15 kg in my bicep curl on week 3, I'll probably come to like a 7.5 on week 4.
Yeah, so deload week basically is for that entire week. You do the same workout, but you drop the volume, drop the intensity, everything by like 50%. So you're still
50.
training.
Okay.
You're still
Exactly.
training.
Exactly.
Instead of 3 reps in reserve, you probably go to 4 reps in reserve, or maybe even 5 reps in reserve.
Yeah.
That's still like significant amount of stimulus for you to retain muscle. Maybe it won't stimulate the muscle to grow,
Yeah.
but you won't lose muscle. And during that week, I also suggest that you focus like heavy focus on recovery. You sleep a lot, focus on hydration, focus on bringing the stress down, and by the end of this week, you'll actually end up feeling really nice because the stress would have gone
Yeah.
down. And the first 3 weeks, you would have accumulated a lot of stress and fatigue if you're training properly.
Correct.
So this week is very important, and it in the long run, whether it's muscle gain or any other goal, deloads are very, very helpful.
Exactly.
And a lot of times I hear people say that deloads are only for athletes because they are the ones who are really pushing themselves hard. I look at it very differently. Now, if I'm talking to someone who has a 9 to 5 job, or even more than 9 to 5, people are working like 10 hours,
Yeah,
12
nobody's
hours in,
working 9 to
especially
5.
startups in Bangalore and all of that, they're working very hard. And that's a lot of stress on the mind and the body. And the body does not really differentiate between the mental stress and the physical stress. The stress that you're getting from work and the stress that you're getting from exercise, all put together, is a lot of load for the body. So I think pretty much everybody should be doing these deload weeks, and it's going to help them in the long run.
Correct. I was just thinking it's like how we women should train, right? We automatically get a deload week every month during our luteal phase. Right? But I'm not sure if everyone uses it.
It's important for them to understand this. So what you're saying is a very good point. It's just important for women to understand and
use it correctly.
correctly.
And that brings me to my next question, which, like, we all, whether irrespective of beginner, intermediate, advanced, have the habit of using the term of go hard or go home.
Correct.
Right? And I think in the world of muscle building, like you just mentioned, that just doesn't work.
It's not about go hard or go home. I think that used to be the thing.
Yeah.
Many years back.
It still is, trust me. Deload is not considered as something that should be built into people's workout.
People don't want to take deloads.
Because everyone thinks that 1 hour or whatever, 45 minutes or 1.5 hour that you get to work out is so precious that you want to walk out of the gym feeling like,
yeah, I think people,
my body.
I think people, they're already people who are going to the gym. They're spending money on gym membership. They're spending time on training. What they want is maximum benefits out of that time. And it won't come by go hard or go home. It'll only come if you systematically, plan your training. And, I remember when I went to the gym for the first time, it was like many years back. The same thing happened with me. I was a very skinny kid, and the trainer pushed me really hard. Now, if I think about it, I know for sure that the trainer had no idea about exercise physiology, or how do you actually treat a beginner, like the basics also. And I was pushed really hard. I was extremely sore the next day, and I could not go back to the gym. I had to take I sort of dropped off in one day. I of course went back to the gym 6 months later. But this go hard or go home mentality has killed the exercise aspirations for so many people out there. In reality, you don't need to be very, very sore. If you are so sore after your training that you can't even walk or you can't go back for the next session, then you are not getting gains. You need to let your muscles recover within like the next couple of days, go back and train them again.
Correct.
And then only you become stronger than your pre-exercise levels.
Yeah.
And I spoke about deload, right? Also, what's important is that, like, what do you do after that deload week? Go back to week 1.
Yeah.
And go to that 3 reps in reserve and then accumulate volume again.
Over weeks.
One more thing that I get people to do if I program for them is introduce new movements. When you go back to your week 1,
Yeah.
you introduce new movements. So if I'm doing, let's say, a back squat, I'll probably get this person to do a Bulgarian split squat instead, and get to that 3 reps in reserve, get to new levels of soreness, accumulate fatigue in that new movement, accumulate volume in that new movement, get to week 4, deload, go back to the same cycle.
Yeah.
So that's how I would typically get people to program. And like I said, I'm going to create very simple sheet,
Yes.
a very simple log sheet, because logging is a skill that people really need to understand and learn.
Yeah.
That's going to take them places in their muscle building journey. So I'm going to create a log sheet along with a simple workout plan
Yeah.
for one cycle, and let people download it from the description and use it on their own.
Yeah. So on that note, I'll just remind everyone, in the description, you can go and get your sheet to basically know all about how you can approach your training to build muscle. Now, we've spoken about, load and reps and all of that. What happens to somebody who does not have access to a gym and definitely wants to build muscle and can only work out at home?
Yeah, I mean, that's the reality. People,
Yeah.
it's hard to make time. We are all busy. And if you have to go to a gym, you spend 1 hour training at a gym, and you have to spend time in the traffic to go to the gym, find parking. And maybe that's not an option for a few people, but it's all very possible to train at home. First of all, body weight movements itself, like
Yeah.
push-ups, squats, pull-ups, they are all super challenging, right? A lot of people won't be able to do even one good push-up. So they're still in that learning phase, and
Correct.
for body weight movements, and that's quite a bit of resistance already. So what I would suggest is start learning those body weight movements. Bare minimum that what people should have at home is install a pull-up bar. It's very easily available.
Yeah.
Install a pull-up bar at home. Maybe if you want, invest in a couple of dumbbells or kettlebells. Like, not too many. You don't even need too many.
Yeah.
Get a small jump box that you can use for step ups and a lot of other movements. Maybe a Swiss ball if you want to. So there's some very small equipment that you can buy at home. It's not very expensive, and once you buy it, it's there. Like, nothing happens to these
Exactly.
equipment. So you can create one small setup at home, and then be able to stimulate muscles in all important movement patterns, and slowly start learning how to improve the form, and then how to take muscles to failure. In terms of progressive overload, we spoke about increased load and reps at the gym. You can always play around with the speed of the movement. You can add jumps. You can add things like intensifier techniques like drop sets, myo reps, and supersets, and things like that. There's a lot that you can do at home. So I think what I'll do again is create a home gym
List.
Yeah. Like, buy these things which won't take too much space in your house.
Correct.
And you will be able to get a full body workout whenever you want.
Yeah.
And we can also put a couple of sample workouts that you can do on these equipment. I think that's going to be very useful for people. So we'll do that, and again, let people download from the description.
Yeah. I think we anyway want to do a lot of workouts as well.
Yes.
Follow along workouts.
We want to do a lot of follow along workouts. Yeah.
Now, we spoke about workouts. We spoke about what everyone can do, how they can do. We're going to have the cheat sheet for you. What about recovery?
Let me first explain what recovery means very simply. In fact, I think we should do a full separate video and episode on this topic.
Yeah, because years ago, my idea of recovery was only to sit on the couch and stare into the wall. But it doesn't have to be that way.
Which is also great.
Which is also great,
by
but
the way.
yeah.
But you can do a lot more.
So much.
You can do a lot more. So basically, when you train at a gym or at your home or wherever, you're basically breaking your muscles down. Your enzymes are breaking, and it's a catabolic process.
Yes.
And you actually build muscles or skills or strength when you're sleeping and resting. So you have to give that recovery window. And from a muscle building standpoint, ideally 48 to 72 hours, 2 to 3 days for a sore muscle to recover. If it is taking more than that, means you've trained so much more harder than what your body could tolerate. you've hit a lot more volume and you didn't need
That much.
that kind of volume and that kind of intensity. And if it takes more than 72 hours for you to recover, means that you'll actually not really be making gains. You need to go back
Exactly.
and train the same muscle again within those 48 to 72 hours. So that's your recovery time frame from a muscle building perspective. Now, to accelerate your recovery, there are a bunch of things that you can do. Number one, sleep a lot. So prioritize sleep over probably watching Netflix or probably Instagram reels, or anything else. Prioritize. I'm again not saying go militant, have your life, but then at least 80-90% of the time you have to prioritize sleep.
Yes.
Second, you can do a lot of active recovery. So when you take your rest days, just go out for a walk, leave your phone at home, connect with nature. These things, like, they're really important for grounding and for recovery and also for
Absolutely.
your brain.
Yeah.
So light intensity activity like an easy walk outside or an easy swims. Maybe even if you don't know how to swim, just get into the pool,
Okay, yeah.
walk around inside the pool. That's going to help you recover fast. You can also do mobility training, you can do yoga, basically something that's like light in intensity. That's
Yeah.
going to help you recover faster than just sitting on the couch and resting. You can also do foam rolling. In fact, I foam roll
Favorite. Yeah.
pretty much every day, and I'm actually able to manage my soreness very well with my foam rolling routine. So I don't wake up very sore. Of course, I do feel sore because I'm training hard, but foam rolling before I sleep has been one of the most important recovery tools after sleep. I would like foam roll for about 20 minutes before I sleep. It also helps me sleep really well. You can do deep stretches. Yeah, I think a bunch of these things that will just help accelerate recovery really fast.
Yeah.
So keep that 48 to 72 hours time frame in mind, and I think we are going to come back with another episode on recovery, because there are a
Recovery,
lot of
yeah.
things, right? You talk about cold plunge and sauna and a
and
bunch of things, and everything is useful, but we'll talk about how can you deploy those things in your recovery protocol.
Yes.
Because I was talking to someone who said that I love cold plunge, it's the best feeling in the world, which I agree. It is. But if you do it right after your training, then it is counterproductive, because you don't want to, if your aim is to build muscle,
Muscle.
you don't want to kill that inflammation right after your
Right
training.
after.
You will have to separate that cold plunge from your workout, or maybe do it on your rest days. So
Exactly.
we'll talk about this
Recovery
entire
separately, yes.
recovery from a protocol and even from a recovery tech standpoint, because there's a lot that's happening in the world.
Also, another very important point for muscle building will be food. Now, you can probably just throw some light on it, but I think we'll need another episode to talk about nutrition for muscle building,
Yes.
like we would nutrition for fat loss and
Yes.
stuff. But they have to go hand in hand, right?
People need to have 100% dedication on training,
Yeah.
100% dedication on nutrition, and 100% dedication on recovery. You can't be like 80% nutrition, 20% training. That's not how it works. That's like a nice
Comfortable place to be.
that's
all.
that's like a good one liner that exists
Yeah.
on the internet, but you
Yeah.
have to be super consistent and super dedicated for everything. You're talking about building muscle for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And it just can't be easy. It's not like very hard, but you can't be chilling and expect to build muscle.
Correct. And like you said, it is actually harder than losing fat. And it's also hard to continue to maintain that muscle mass year after
Yes.
year after year.
Yes, it takes time. As
Yeah.
in, people, when they're new to lifting weights, it's a great place to be, because there's some phenomena called newbie gains kick in, and they're like building muscle really fast. And for good 1 to 2 years, people are in that phase. I mean, right now people are talking about 12 weeks transformation and 6 months transformation and things like that, and they're all probably inspired by what they see on social media, probably inspired by what they see the celebrities doing.
Yeah.
But then celebrities have a long training history. I don't think that comes out. So for good 1 to 2 years, they are in that newbie phase. People are still beginners.
Correct.
And those newbie gains are kicking in. And during that phase, I don't think people need to go until failure. They need to stay within that 3 to 4 reps in reserve for those 1 to 2 years, and they'll still be making gains without hitting their central nervous system fatigue. But they will have to put a lot of focus on their nutrition and recovery. That's true for everybody, whatever your training age is.
So much to keep in mind. But we're going to make it easy for you through the cheat sheet. Yeah. But like you said, we'll save up on recovery and nutrition and all
Yes.
of for another episode. But this was really good. And thank you. And if you want to build muscle like Rishabh Telang, look how he's looking like a college boy.
Like a college boy. Huh?
You turned 40 this year, no?
I turned 40
Yeah,
this
but you
year. Yes.
definitely don't look it. So, and you're aging gracefully and getting stronger each passing year. And that is effort. So, if you're ready for that kind of effort, you download that cheat sheet and start right away. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Rishi T. That was a good one. And yeah, we'll talk more in the next one.
Yeah, there's a lot more. I mean, we just try to make it
Yeah,
as crisp and short and sharp as possible.
exactly.
I couldn't make it shorter than this, but everything that I spoke about can be like, one full episode. So
Yeah.
we'll keep coming back with
More
chunks
on the
of
same.
chunks of the information from this episode, so that people start also understanding those finer details that
Correct.
really helps them push their game.
Correct. But I think this kind of information, even in short bursts, is important because then you're not, struggling to absorb information and retain it, right? When it's just too much information, then you're like, oh my God, how do I make all this happen? But then bits and pieces always are easier for you to remember. And then the cheat sheet is also available for everyone to kind of, like you said, log or always go and refer back to, is my programming in line with what the pros are saying?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you all a free program in the cheat sheet. So
Yeah.
make sure you download it. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us.
Yes. See you soon.